Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another discussion. For today's lesson, we will be tackling two chapters. We have Chapter 5, How to Critique an Artwork, and Chapter 6, The Art of Paintings. But before we begin with the basic objectives for this lesson, let me share to you the featured painting on your title slide. The featured painting is entitled The Fisherman by Davaoenyo visual artist Ang Kyuko. The featured painting was created in 1981. It is oil on canvas and it has a dimension of 40 by 80 inches. We have four basic objectives for these chapters. Our first objective, for us to be able to identify the elements of painting. Number two, to be able to show the importance of the color wheel. Number three, to be able to demonstrate knowledge on the different mediums of painting and the artistic movements. And our last objective, to be able to discuss the four basic steps on how to critique an artwork. Let us start first with the basic definition of painting. When we say painting, it is the practice of applying colors or any other form of medium onto a flat surface. To be able to create a painting, we need three basic components. The first component that we need is our medium. When we say medium, it is a material that you manually apply onto the base. An example of a medium is acrylic paint, charcoal, colored pencil, and etc. The second component that we need is our brush. The brush serves as the intermediary material between your medium and your base. Your brush serves as your medium of application. Now, it doesn't mean that when you say brush, it only encompasses the one that you can see on your right side. Okay, when you say brush, you can also use your foot, for example, as a method of application. You can even use your fingers as your method of application. And the last component that we need to be able to create a painting is the base. The base refers to the material where the medium is applied. An example of bases are wall, paper, wood, glass, and etc. Now let us continue with the different elements of painting. The first element is line. Line has a continuous marking made by a moving point to outline shapes, and it can also contour areas within those outlines. Line is considered as the foundation of a painting, for without lines, you cannot create the shapes, and without the shapes, you cannot emphasize the subjects that you can see in a painting. Different kinds of lines can denote different psychological responses. For example, if a painting is dominated by vertical lines, it can suggest action, strength, and dynamism. If the painting is dominated by horizontal lines, it can mean serenity, calmness, and stability. On the other hand, if a painting is dominated by diagonal lines, it can suggest tension and movement. And if the painting is dominated by curved lines, it can suggest softness, flexibility, and gentleness. Let us have a simple activity before we continue with the next element. The painting that we will be using for this activity is Vasily Kandinsky's composition number 8. As you can see on Vasily Kandinsky's painting, it clearly shows a mixture of different kinds of lines. Now, please answer these questions. Number 1, how did the painting utilize the element of line? And our second question, how will you interpret the painting based on the kinds of lines that the artist employed? Our second element is color. Color is the result of wavelengths of lights reflecting off objects. Based on how humans perceive color, colors are composed of three distinct qualities. The first one, we have hue. It is the name of the color. The second component is saturation. It is the intensity or the purity of color in an image. And the last quality is value. Value is the relative lightness or darkness of a color. Now, if you try to open the camera application of your smartphone, you can either maximize or minimize the saturation or the value of your photograph. Now, when you increase the saturation of your photograph, the colors appear to be more pure. And when you decrease the saturation of your photograph, the colors appear to be more washed out or pale. Now, there can be two categories of color if our basis is the quality of value. Let us use the pigment of red as an example. Okay, number one, red plus any amount of black added is equal to shades of red. Now, number two, red plus any amount of white added is equal to tints of red. Now, as you can see, the two categories of color based on value are shades when you add the pigment plus any amount of black. And the second one, you have tints when you mix the pigment plus any amount of color white. Now, let us continue with the color wheel and its categories. The first category are complementary colors. Complementary colors sit opposite to each other. Our example, we have green and red. You have orange and blue. We have yellow and purple. Our second category are analogous colors. Analogous colors sit next to each other. Our example, we have yellow, yellow-orange, and orange. Our third category are neutral colors. Neutral colors are also called earth tones. Our example, we have brown, black, gray, and white. Our fourth category are warm colors. Warm colors give a feeling of brightness and heat. Our example, we have yellow and red. And our last category, we have cool colors. Cool colors give a feeling of coolness and peace. Our example, we have green and blue.